I sold my old business and then retired. I've then unretired and started a new business in robotics. Everyone's worried about AI, but I think it's good to fear God.
Meet Byron Patching, a highly experienced property and infrastructure executive with over 35 years of expertise across multiple industries. He co-founded Exact Solutions, a prominent supply chain management consultancy, which was later acquired by TMX. Currently, Byron leads operations in Australia and New Zealand for Mushiny, where he focuses on advancing warehouse robotics and automation, helping businesses optimize their supply chain processes through innovative robotic solutions.
I think these biblical principles actually make the world a better place. And I think...
So Byron, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to see you again. And I usually get my guests to bring in an item. And what have you got here?
That's a special item, Lynn. It's a painting that I did to, I had made for us for the launch of a new business. So that's what it is. And I'll take you through that a bit later as well.
Yeah. No, I want to hear it now. So your new business is Mashiny, and the whole point of this segment is just to get to know you a little bit and how there's a meaning to this that you resonate with, and we'll highlight the person that you are.
Okay, well, it's a cool painting. So I've started a new business. So I sold my old business and then retired. I've then unretired and started a new business in robotics. And what I've done is set up the subsidiary with my business partner, Peter. We've set up the subsidiary of a company called Mashiny, which is a company in China that invents robots, writes all the programming, the algorithms behind that, and distributes them worldwide. So my business partner and I have become shareholders in that parent company and then set up Mashiny in Australia. And we had this painting made for us to send a message, both to our customers and also to our staff, and to remind us about Mashiny. So I'll take you through that if you like.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So the painting was painted by a Christian lady whose name is Grace, and she's a well-known painter in China. So she has paintings in the National Gallery, and she exhibits often in China. She can't paint overt Christian paintings, because the Chinese government don't like that. So she has more sort of surreptitious type paintings. They have a meaning underneath, and this is one of them. This painting is part of a series, and it's called the Present Series. And what it shows is a father and his son admiring God's creation. Okay, and the series has the same picture depicted in different ways, different colours. I asked for blue because we have Mashiny blue, right?
Yeah.
So, but what we've done with this picture to inaugurate the business is put the Mashiny star, and you can see here above the eye the Mashiny star. We put that in the sky, and we also put the opera house connecting with the bridge to Pudong in China, in Shanghai. So we're showing a link between Australia and China. And so what we have here is Mashiny China with little old Mashiny Australia following the Mashiny way. The founder of Mashiny is a big man, and his name's K2. That's his nickname because he's big. And he climbed K2 when he was little. He has a son who's small, and he's called K0. So we have K2 with K0, admiring God's creation. So it has a number of different meanings. It's sort of choose your own adventure. We hang this in the office. People who come, they see this and they go, oh, yeah, that's cool. You've got a warm connection with China and with Mashiny, and we always remember that because we have this hanging in our foyer. But we also have a connection with God. And I think that's important. We're in AI. Everyone's worried about AI, but I think it's good to fear God.
This is really, really interesting. I mean, this is the first time I've kind of seen someone that created something to kind of storytell about their business. Like, have you always been that type that is very intentional and want it to be of a storyteller and connecting, you know, what you do with purpose, because it's starting to tell me a lot more about yourself.
Well, yeah, maybe that's me, but I just thought this was a good idea, you know, because we're dealing with Chinese people in China, and frankly, it's pretty hard. You know, first of all, they speak a completely different language, and when I say different, it is nothing like English. Like, it is a completely different setup. Like, their writing is in pictures. They don't even write phonetically. You can't read it as such. You have to learn it. So it's very different, the way they communicate, the words they use, the phrases, how they tie everything together. It's completely different than English, as well as it being another language. So you've got that. You've got another culture, which is a world away from Australia. They're a long way away. So you know how sometimes you say, oh, I'm not communicating with you well? Hey, man, that's normal when you're dealing with a Chinese company. So what we wanted to depict was our heart is in it. Like, we're in it together. We're both committed. We've got our arms around each other. We know the direction we're going. And within that, for me, and we're under God. Okay, so that provides it to me. To some others, it doesn't. Certainly not all Chinese. So when I first met, just to show you how crazy it is trying to communicate in Chinese from a distance, when I first met the founder, we were using an app to translate, because he speaks Chinese, I speak English. And after a while, he said something, and the app said, yeah, I'd really like to massage your feet with oil. And so I thought, well, this is interesting. So I sent that back to him and translated back to him. And he goes, no, I didn't mean to say that, you know. And I think that's typical.
And what did he actually wanted to say, that Google
to this
or whoever?
day, I don't know. I think it had something to do, I want to make this work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but somehow it translated like that. And we have that going on all the time. It's important we stay together, important that we know our direction. And so I put this there, I presented it to him. He wanted to take it home with him. I said, no, this stays here to remind us of the link we have with China and how our heart's always in it, even if we end up with miscommunication and, in fact, anger between us as we try to understand each other. So that's why we...
I love that idea, because sometimes, most of the time, we're writing things in words, like, you know, we love love and we love kindness, but it's a picture speaks 1,000 words, like they say. And so I've really inspired by that.
Yeah, and think about it, like, you know, what is love? Like, it's very easy to love someone who's lovable, Very easy. But what about if you can't actually understand what they're talking about and they're doing something you don't want them to do? Do you love that one? Or do you only love the ones who are doing what you want to do? And what's love anyway? Like, we know, you know, like in the Bible it talks about patience and kindness. It's hard to be patient when you've asked someone the same question 20 times and you still don't have the answer. You know, so I think, you know, what I've learnt in this new venture is definitely patience, trying to be kind. And they're very patient, kind people. But, yeah, I think loving is all about keep on giving and keep on releasing and don't get worked up about somebody. You know, I think that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of your content online, and you do mention a lot about valuing your customers, valuing your employees, I guess just treating them well. How did that become your guiding light? Like, what made you just think that way and know that that is the way to grow a business? Yeah,
I think business is very logical. I think the Bible's very logical, and I think the two naturally fit together. But I think, you know, a logical thing is making sure you do a good job. Like, there's no point doing a bad job and expecting the person to be happy about that. So doing a good job, delivering it well, trying to make sure the other person is happy with what you've done and is having a good day. Now, those are biblical principles, but if you apply them in business, what happens is you get customer retention, customer penetration, you get customer referral. You don't have to do so much marketing because they're doing it for you, because they're happy and they've got more than they thought they would. And when things didn't go bad, you were there and you made sure it worked out. You know, so I think these biblical principles actually make the world a better place. And I think, you know, it's not so much, oh, gee, I've got to follow them because I'm a Christian. I do have that thinking, but it actually makes sense to follow those principles and to to apply them in the business setting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because I wasn't brought up Christian. And 3 years ago when, I learnt and discovered some, I guess, verses and beliefs, it's just aligned with my values and it just made it easier to go, okay, well, I like that. I agree with that and I want to learn more. And that's how I kind of discovered the faith and now it's just my guiding light.
Yeah. It's challenging nowadays because we've been taught in the last 10 years to be the best you can be, get the most out of the world, where the Bible's actually saying, well, look after your neighbour, watch out for your mate. So it's very interesting when you start doing that. What happens, it all becomes a bit twisted because we're all fighting for ourselves and, not so much worried about the person next to us. So I'd love to see a turn of events in the world stage and see people looking after each other a bit more.
Well, take us back to your childhood. What was it like growing up in the Patching family?
Oh, dear me. Okay. So, I was born in Perth in a plumber's household in an industrial suburb and we had everything we could possibly need and we were very blessed in that way. Dad worked very, very hard and I had a couple of...
So your dad was a plumber?
Dad's a plumber. Yeah. Mum supported him in the business.
Okay.
And I just went to school. I met my wife, and I've been with her for over 40 years.
Wow.
And this is a fair while. But I met her when I was 17, and she was a neighbour. She lived up the road, and we met and decided to get married, and then and we've been together and we have kids now. But both of us started in an industrial area, nothing particularly special, and we were happy. And we still are. And actually what I've learnt is the more things you have, it doesn't change anything. Like you can be happy together with very little.
Yeah. And so your parents were already in business. Did they instill any business philosophy? Did they kind of plant seeds in your head that, hey, you should be a business owner? Or
no.
What was it like for you as you were growing up? What did you feel like you were going to be when you were growing up?
No idea. What they thought was you should do whatever you can with what you have. And that's what I learnt from them. But no, my dad didn't sit down and teach me business or teach me about plumbing. In fact, when I was young, I started doing some work with him and I picked up a pile of concrete in a trailer and it fell off and went all over the road and I made a mess at the back of the car and all that. And I remember him saying to me, you need to go to uni. I can't afford to have you helping me.
You're just not good with your hands.
Don't do that. So, and he was right. So, yeah, I went off down the university path and my brother went into plumbing and another one did something else. But we were never pushed or in that way. They wanted to see us well and happy, but they weren't needing us to follow their lead as such. Yeah.
And so did you grow up in a Christian family?
Yeah, Christian-esque, I'd say. Like they were happy for us to go to church. They took us there.
But they were Christians themselves?
Well, I think they're more believers now than they were then, but they were happy for us. They were happy to go to church themselves and they took us to church. So it wasn't foreign to me going to church. And sometimes as a kid I enjoyed it, other times I didn't. But I went and it was through that interaction at church that I found faith in Christ. Yeah.
How old were you when you felt like, I get it, I believe in this and I want to be, active, not just a passive believer? 16,
17. Yeah. And at that age you're thinking, I've now have this faith and I want other people to have it. And so you start thinking about how you can instill what you've been gifted to others to help others. And that's been an interesting journey over my life because I still like to see other people know Jesus as I do because I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But really that's up to God. It's not up to me. And I've learnt that. Like, be patient and, you wonder, everyone's got their journey and their purpose and God has a plan and I don't really know it. I know it generally but not specifically.
Yeah.
And all I can do is tell people what I know and then let God deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the years, were you tested where you feel like, I thought there was a God and like, why is it so hard? Like, because I discovered Christianity a lot later. And so when I've try to do life alone, I know what it was like. It was hard. And so I kind of get to appreciate Jesus a lot more, or the Christian faith. And I've always wondered, where if you're so young and you haven't really experienced life, like how do you know when to know it's your fault or it's God's fault? You kind of get a bit confused. So what was it like being such a young believer growing up?
Yeah. Well, I learned at a young age that you can't get God to do things. Like, he's in charge, I'm not. And I fear him. Like, he's bigger than me and he has all power. So I learnt that at a young age. And so then, I've always seen my job as to try to do what he would like. And I look to the Bible, that's where his word sits as the guiding light as to what I should do with my day. But I try hard not to get caught up in, well, I've done this, God, so you need to do that. I think once you head down that route, that's a bad place to be. You're going to get disappointed. So I just sort of think, well, God, you've got a plan. I don't know what it is for me. I'll take each day as it comes, and I'll try to do what the Bible says I should do, and keep it simple that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you eventually became an entrepreneur. How did you get to that point? You went from studying, I guess, going to uni.
Yeah.
And then how did you become a successful entrepreneur that ended up selling and making a lot of money, let's call it? For me, I grew up quite poor, and I would say that's what motivated. I need to find a way to make a lot of money. But for you, what was that drive for you to lead to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I've always been someone who likes to create things, and I think God makes us in different ways, right? So, but for me, I've been somebody, I need to achieve things, I need to create things. I'm a grower of things. I'd like to have more things tomorrow than today. Not necessarily in the physical sense, but I like to see things better, every day better. So I've always been that way. And it got to the point where I was doing work for others and sort of preparing myself to start my own business, but not knowing what I should do. So I tried a few different businesses that didn't work so well, but I ended up getting involved in the business I sold, and that went well. And that was in logistics and industrial property. And it was a good business, and it was fun to work in. It made money, and somebody wanted it and they bought it. And that took about 15 years to develop. But I enjoyed that business, and it was great. And then, but it was more, I've always had the aspiration to be a businessman, but I wasn't ready. In my 20s, I was immature. In my 30s, I was trying to find the right thing, and it really came together in my late 30s. Yeah.
Well, looking back at your career, then what would be one of the proudest moments in business that you would say, yeah, I was proud of that? I remember just, jumping for joy or tapping myself on the back and going, that was a good moment.
A good thing. I think selling the business, like, it's not easy to create a business and to run it and keep it going. That's not easy. A lot of people fail to do that or don't even try to do it. But to actually get it to be of a value that someone wanted to buy it, that's cool. I was really happy with that. And there was a lot of positioning of the business over many years to present it in a way that somebody would want it. And I had a target buyer in mind, and I was really happy when that came together. And they were happy. So it kind of worked out. It's almost like I was preparing someone for a marriage and just sort of shuffling it to that point. And I was really, really happy when I was able to let go of it and they took it over.
That's amazing. Can't wait for myself to do that. How was your relationship with wealth, considering you're a believer? Because I think that, being at church myself, I meet a lot of people who definitely have that side of them that they want to give back, they want to succeed so can help people. But at the same time, I felt like they are uncomfortable with making more money or wealth. And, I myself didn't come from that space. I was more of a worldly person and then now discovered faith. It allows me to go, well, this is perfect because what I make, I can give. And the more I make, the more I can help. But for yourself, what was your kind of attitude towards making money and wealth?
Yeah, I think, it's important to be happy with what you have. But that's always been difficult for me. I've always liked to collect and grow. And part of that was, developing more wealth and collecting that. I think it's important not to hold it tightly. Like we were happy when we didn't have that much, and I think we'd still be happy. We would just live in a different way. So I think that's important, but I make more wealth because I can. Not everyone can. Yeah, like many people, they go to work and then they come home and that's the end of that, or can't even get to work.
And why is that? Why is it that they can and they can't? Is it like, are you saying it's a destiny, or is this just them? Yeah, what do you mean by can and can't?
Yeah, some people are designed, I think, to run businesses, and most people are not. Most people, their natural inclination is to work for someone else and not to run their own.
And they
business.
seek safety more than adventure.
And that's okay. And look, we're all born with different competencies, and we develop different capabilities. Like we have so much. We have 2 hands, 2 feet. We have so much that we take for granted that's we already have. But when you actually look at yourself and say, actually, I've got a lot that many people don't have. And I don't mean property or anything like that. I'm just capability. And I'm able to use that character that I've developed over time, or whatever it might be, that I can do. Like my wife, I love her to death. She couldn't run a business. She's not designed to do that. But she's a really good wife.
And she doesn't want to, right?
She doesn't want to. Yeah. So it's not for everyone. And if you're not sure if you should do it, don't do it. But if you feel you need to, then get on with it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like it's not that you don't have to want it. If you want it, then you definitely can.
Yes. Yeah. So it's hard for young people nowadays because they face a world where you're not working for a company for long periods of time. People are staying in the same job for shorter periods. Housing's so expensive. They need super income to be able to buy the house that we used to be able to buy for a normal income. So it drives them towards being a businessman. And I wonder how many of them will be successful. I'm sure they wonder as well, because some of them are doing it because they need to rather than actually that's what I'm designed to. We'll see how that
really
chapter
interesting.
plays out.
So how are you raising your kids and how are you instilling the things that you've learned about life to them? Tell me more about your kids.
Yeah, my wife looks after the home, and Corinne, she does a great job at that and brings up the kids, and I lead the house whenever she lets me. I come home.
Only one leader, though.
Yeah, only one
leader at a time.
Yeah. Whenever she lets me, whenever she needs me to. But we partner with that, and we talk a lot about it, and we naturally argue over how to deal with certain circumstances, and we're not the same. So we approach things differently, and we do that in partnership. But we manage them together. We put them into school. We sit down with them.
How old are they now, and how many have you got?
Well, they're 19 and 17. So the 17-year-old's finishing school this year, and the 19-year-old just started an internship at some robot business. Our business in Chatswood. So that was a bit strange.
Oh, in your business too?
Yeah.
Okay, in your business.
Yeah. So it's pretty funny because when I decided with my business partner, hey, we should invest in a robot company, I came home and my son came home and said, hey, I've just enrolled in uni. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, robots.
Oh,
really?
Oh, my God.
Okay. You want a job? So he's now working with us for the moment, and then he'll go back to uni later. So that's nice.
And so how did you bring him up in terms of like, was being a Christian an important aspect and you had to make sure that they go to church, or it was something that you kind of left it alone to them and not as forceful?
We've always encouraged them to go to church, to read the Bible. We give them a Bible. We encourage them to interact with other Christian kids and to provide leadership in that. We in our own way, Corinne and I have our own faith anyway, and it's obviously our own, and then we work together with that, and they see that. So they see us, say, running a Bible study or getting involved in a prayer meeting, and they see that. And kids tend to want to be like their parents, like generally speaking. But you don't have much control over kids. Like you think you can mould them into something, but they're made a certain way. They'll learn from you when they want to, and they'll do whatever they want. In the end, that's where it'll end up as they get older. But both of them are doing very well. One of them, but actually both of them have got their own faith, and we're thankful to God for that. And we support that. If they ever need anything in that arena, we're there for them.
Yeah. So tell me about this new business that you're in. Like, what was it about it that made you go, I'm going to get out of retirement for this? And obviously I felt like you probably was over business because you've been running for so long and you're like, I can't wait to not do anything and relax. And so what was that change of mind and that shift?
Yeah. So firstly, I didn't feel like, I can't wait to not work.
Okay.
So I was happy working, but the sale of the business has its timing, and the time was right to sell it, so we sold it. It wasn't that I didn't want to work or I was sick of it. So when I worked in the business, I wasn't necessarily there all the time. I tried to get life balance. We'd put the kids into school in Italy every year, so they would go there for 2 or 3 months, and we would go there and live with them and do that. So, for example, it wasn't all just drudgery, and we shaped the business as we liked it, so it was enjoyable. So I liked the business, but I liked retirement. It was nice. I'm not sure about Corinne. She married me for dinner, not for lunch. So having me home all the time started to become, what are you going to do?
How long were
today?
you officially kind of retired?
A few years, but I bought a property and started renovating it and doing stuff. All those jobs you thought if I had time I'd do. Of course, you don't necessarily get to them, but yeah, after a while it was like, what am I going to do? And my business partner is a bit younger than me, and he wanted to do something again. So we started talking and looking at things. And because we had been given a bit of money for the sale, we thought, we have a little bit of loose cash we could do something with. So maybe there's something we can leverage with our skills and background and contacts and knowledge and a little bit of cash. Maybe we can do something. And we ended up doing this. And time will tell whether it's a good idea. I think it is, but who knows? Everyone seems to want a robot, so I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I've been there. I love it. It's so cool. It's such a cool business. So you mentioned that you were already living or growing your business in a way that was supportive of your lifestyle. Like, were you always born that way, thought that way, or was it something that you discovered along the way? You're like, hang on, I need to develop this work-life balance because this is not healthy for me.
Yeah, or anyone. I think I don't like in corporates how they just work you to 60 hours, 80 hours a week, and then you say, I'm having a marriage breakup because I've never been home, and they go, that's terrible. Can you now do this job? It's like, I really care about you, but keep working. Everyone's experienced that or seen that. I don't like that. So we set up the business.
From day one, you were very mindful.
Look after people, get them home, get them back to their families. Don't overwork them, and work during the week. Don't work on the weekends. If you want to work at night, don't work so much in the day. Find a balance and give people flexibility. So we always did that, and I did that. Peter worked a lot harder than me, my business partner. I always said with his, work ethic and my lifestyle, we got the perfect balance. But we managed between ourselves to ensure that we're enjoying ourselves and contributing to a family and all our staff as much as we could. And we weren't perfect, but as much as we could, we tried to achieve that.
Yeah. Look, I feel like in my early years in business, I was stressed out. I worked a lot. It's because I didn't have faith either. I felt like everything had to be up to me and I had to control everything. And I think nowadays, because I became a Christian maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it's just been so much more helpful because knowing that, God's there, he's co-creating with you. Sometimes you can just go for a walk and then you bump into a potential business partner or a customer and you realize that, hang on, life happens in a different way. It's not all about you, And so would you say that you were able to design your business in a better way because there is that faith, there is something else that that is helping you?
Well, I think my faith is integral in my life. So, again, I think it just makes sense. And the things in the Bible, if you read through them and understand how the Bible's put together, it makes sense. So applying that in the workplace to me is natural. It would be unnatural not to. But we didn't have a Christian company. It was a company, and we focused on logistics and industrial property, and there were Christians in it and non-Christians in it. We always chose capable people and then treated them decently, and they excelled. So we didn't... sometimes some people think, Christians are going to be better in some way than non-Christians. Maybe their behaviour will be better. Well, it depends on who it is, really. It depends on who it is. So there's a range of Christians, there's a range of non-Christians, and I think I've seen really good Christian behaviour come from non-Christians. So I think we need to be careful about judging ourselves and what we're doing. Let God deal with that, and our job is really to follow and to do what the Bible says. And I think more importantly, it's good to read the Bible so you know what's in it, and then you can apply it. Yeah.
It is quite hard. I'm a new Christian and I find it very hard to read the Bible. I use ChatGPT AI to go, what does the Bible say about, overcoming adversity? And then it kind of pops up. So that's kind of my way to study. Talking about challenges, because before I did say, what were your proudest moment? But what would you say the memorable challenge that you've had throughout your business career?
I think... a constant, because I'm in industrial property, there's a constant challenge around transparency and honesty. Like in the property world, it's a bit of a dark heart at the best of times. But when you get into industrial property, it gets pretty murky pretty quickly. So I tried to navigate away from all that and just try to deal honestly, and it paid off. In the end, people would deal with me because they knew what I was doing. They knew how much I was making, for example, and what I was doing for it. So with that kind of clarity, people wanted to engage with me. I think that helped. And again, I've made mistakes over time and done things I shouldn't, etc., like anyone. But I think generally speaking, that was good and it built reputation. But it's quite hard sometimes when you've got people coming and offering you large things, money or things to do things that aren't right, and there's quite a lot of that in the property industry. It's not as lily white as you might imagine, Lynn.
It is. So when you go through a challenge, things don't go out your way. Like, what is your process of dealing with it? Like, what goes through your head? What steps can we learn from you? Yeah,
I think I have tried to keep reading the Bible, and I too, it's not that easy. I prefer to read the Fin Review, to be honest. But it's important to keep nudging away at that and having that as your foundation, so that when the storm comes, you're well anchored. I think that's the way to look at it, because when it's nice and still and easy and everything's cruising, that's the time to invest for when it's rough. When it's rough, you don't have the energy or time or capacity to look at your foundation. So I think being founded in the Bible has helped me, but also...
Is it because you remember more of the verses to remind you of the teachings, so that when it happens...
I wish I could remember verses. I'm not very good. My son and daughter are good at that. I forget. Every day's a new day. It's so good.
But you get the concept, but you live it, but you can't remember the actual wording.
Yeah, I have the...
I feel like I'm the same.
The concepts sit there, and so you build that foundation, and then you have that as a buffer and a place to land and to measure what should I do. So that's it. But again, you make mistakes as well, but you're forgiven, by what's happened on the cross. You're not relying on your own works for your salvation. So, you try to do the right thing and do well, but in your heart that you're forgiven and it's through grace. Yeah.
So we have a lot of viewers that are either aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, and they want to be successful and they want to be, creating as much wealth and to make an impact. What would you say, I guess, from your years of experience in business now, some vital tips on getting there?
Into business?
Yeah, in business. I know it's a bit hard. I know there's a lot of factors, but maybe just some key guiding light that we can all take away and go, all right, we're going to remember this.
I think an important thing is make sure you've got something that other people want. Okay, there's no point trying to sell something thinking that, if they only knew about it, then they'd want it. So make sure that people want it. And secondly, make sure they are happy to pay more for it than what it costs you to get it to them. Right. Now, I know
sounds very simple.
It's very simple, but a lot of people don't do that, and they find their costs overrun their revenue, or they just can't get enough revenue to survive. And it's very important. Those two principles are really important. So thinking about what it is, and also just become very good at something. Be careful about jumping from one thing to the next, or doing many different businesses at the same time and spreading yourself. It's better to be deep and in a narrow market than just spread and hoping that someone notices and suddenly it comes together. Hope's a bad strategy, right? You need to be really clear on what you're offering and that someone thinks it's valuable and wants it. Competition isn't the issue usually. There's always competitors. It's about what can you do and can you do it well, and will people see that? If they will, they'll buy off you. Most people don't search the whole world to find the best person. They deal with who's in front of them, who makes sense, has something they want, and is happy to pay for it.
Oh my God, I feel like I got to rewind that and listen every word, because they were just simple words but so profound.
Oh, well, yeah. But having said that, it's hard business. Business is hard, and cash flow is always the issue. And it's always hard to just keep it moving, and you've just got to be enjoying it. If you enjoy it, then it's easy to keep pushing forward, even when it's hard. Yeah.
So what's next for Byron, and when's the next retirement?
Well, what we've agreed with Mashiny is that, and I'll come back to the name Mashiny in a minute because that's quite interesting. But what we've agreed with them is we'll set up Mashiny in Australia, New Zealand. And over the next few years, we'll build that up, and then there will be a time when we all sit down and say, are we happy with each other? And if we're still happy with each other, we'll continue
renew our vows.
Renew our vows. And if there's any concerns or whatever, then it's their business. We're setting it up for them, and we can call it a day. So we're at the moment, we're just trying to build the business, try to build the relationship, and we'll see how it goes with Mashiny. Yeah.
Yep. And retirement plan? No, you don't have a kind of a plan 10 years from now. Ages, clock's ticking. Your wife is knocking, going, hey, what's going on?
No, quite the opposite. No, it's not that. It's more, I'm happy doing this. I see it as a hobby as well as work. It's something I can do. I'm not that keen on gardening.
Yeah, you're not made for the handiwork.
Yeah, which is a benefit of being a business owner, is you can keep at it. If you're an employee, once you get to 50, people start to wonder why you're working. So at least as you get older, you can keep doing something. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, to wrap it up, I'd love to just get your thoughts on how you would help someone who wants to take that leap, whether it's pursuing a dream, starting a business, but they just feel a little bit anxious about what is it going to be like on the other side? Is it going to work?
Yeah, I think find really good people who are older than you, who have done something, and find 5 or 6 of them and just meet them regularly and just say, hey, what are you doing? This is what I'm doing, and learn from them. Having people to refer to is important. And I still have people who after 20 years I can still ring and say, hey, here's something to think about. And I do mentor some people, but that it's a good thing to find people who you trust, who are different than you and are all different amongst themselves, and lean on them. It might be a father or mother, or it might be a friend who's older, or an old teacher or something, but just to sit down and have a coffee now and again and say, this is what I'm doing, what do you think? And listen. Yeah, don't just, they say something, think, well, what would you know? Listen. You can learn off anyone, so if you're listening. So that's
a really great tip. And if tomorrow was your last day, this is a little bit of a downer, but if tomorrow was the last day, I guess what do you wish that you have done in the world, or what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
No, I hope what I'm doing points to God. I don't think anyone's going to remember Byron Patching.
Yes, we will.
Only for a little while. Like if you think back, I actually don't think what I do is, in the scheme of things, is that important. I do what I can, So, and I don't hang on to that, and I don't. Yeah, the whole idea of having a legacy or naming a stadium after me, of course, which won't happen, but that kind of thing. I've never aspired to that. We were very happy with just a bag of potatoes on a Friday. That was our big day, and eating that with margarine. That was a good start for us, and if we finished that way, I'd be happy. I'm not looking for anything more than that.
Love it. You're just so humble, and I just love that you love God so much that I guess the purpose is to bring them to God, just like at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah.
You want people to find him.
Yeah, if they want to find him, I'm happy to tell them. And if they don't, it's fine. They can, go shoot for the star or they can see his majesty. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Byron. That was such a profound conversation. I learnt so much and I felt like I need to be even more humble like you. So,
Thanks,
thank you.
Lynn. Thanks for
Thank you for
good
your
on
time.
you. Thank you.